Hello and welcome to Guides.Global. My name's John Howell and I'm the editor, and with me today I have Başak Yıldız Orkun, who is a lawyer working here in Bodrum in Turkey. Başak, thank you.
Hi, John.
People have been doing business in and with Turkey for thousands of years. I was reminded when we went to the Archaeological Museum here in Bodrum the other day, and there was a boat that had sunk bringing cargo from Asia to Turkey 4,000 years before the Common Era. So this is nothing new, doing business in Turkey. Its strategic position in the world has meant that it has always been a focus for business. And there seems to be more and more international business going on in Turkey now.
Yeah, because I think the businesses are becoming more global nowadays. So all international companies are being involved with the Turkey as well. So we have lots of international business going on.
And Turkey has modernized its infrastructure and it is now attracting businesses, not just who want to do business in Turkey, but as a regional centre as well.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So business opportunities exist. Mm-hmm. How are foreigners going to take advantage of them? And that's really the subject of this video.
Okay.
So before we talk about that, let's just talk very briefly about the business culture in Turkey. Mm-hmm. We have a separate video about the cultural differences between Turkey and other countries generally, but let's just talk about the business culture briefly. In what way do you, as a person who has lived and worked in other countries, see business in Turkey being different from business in, say, the UK?
Our business mind is more depending on the trust still, I have to say. So if you are doing business with a third party, you will be always looking to the characteristic of the other person, and if you have a trust agreement with feeling, or then you will start the business with that feeling. And afterwards, when we are dealing with the paperwork, unfortunately sometimes it might be less than you would expect in the UK, because everything is being recorded. So as Turkish people, we like to move really fastly, so we don't want to really lose time at the bureaucracy or paperwork, so it might be less paperwork you might face with.
So if you're dealing with if you're dealing with a Turkish business, not an international business, if you're dealing with a Turkish business, there would be more emphasis on the trust between the parties and less emphasis on the paperwork.
Paperwork, yeah, and emailing is pretty we are adopting the system, but not working very smoothly, I have to say.
And if there is a contract between the parties, traditionally the contract will be a shorter contract than you might expect to see somewhere else.
Yeah.
More like just the main headline points rather than hundreds of pages of detail that you might get, say, in an American contract.
Yeah, in most cases you don't even have a written contract. Yes. I mean, the purchasing a good, selling a good, these are all deals. And when you got the deal, that's it. So you don't really sign a comprehensive contract.
So would that be, to take an example of a construction project, if the developer of the project was to order 20 tons of concrete blocks, mm-hmm. would that be subject to a written contract, or would this be just a phone call?
It's just going to be the phone call, I believe, especially for the local areas, yes. Because there are main providers. Yes. So you just give a call to the provider. You presumably have an account with that shop, yes. And when you got the a phone call and give the order, then it is going to be in your account, so you will just receive it.
Do Turkish people expect to deal with foreign people on the same basis, or do they expect to see more in the way of paperwork if it's a foreigner?
Yeah, if it's a foreigner, we would expect there will be more paperwork, and I think it is not because if one of the parties doing business elsewhere from where they are from, so there must be more paperwork, because they have to understand the terms and stuff, because you're not speaking the language, so you may not understand over the phone call. So we would expect more paperwork.
And they won't know you, and therefore they won't trust you in the same way.
Yeah.
Yes. Within Turkey, is there a tradition of doing business with the same people for a long time? Mm-hmm. Do you end up, for example, in the Far East, particularly in China, a company will have a supplier. It has possibly been the company that supplied steel to this factory for 50 years, and there's a very close relationship. But that company would not dream of going out to an alternative supplier unless there was a very good reason for doing so. Does it work like that, or are you always looking for the best deal?
I think the current climate is always thinking about your budget. So if there is a best price, I think it will affect. Yes, of course, the references are very important, and if it is yet again more related of the good that you are purchasing, if it's a very substantial amount of money that you will be paying for, you would look for some trustable companies.
Yes.
So instead of a good deal, you might be looking for a more stable and reliable companies.
Yes, and you're right. I mean, all this is always down to the value of the things you're talking about. It isn't worth making 20 phone calls to get 20 prices to save $2.
Yeah.
But if you're saving $200,000, it might be a different thing altogether. What about the difference in attitude in age groups? Is the attitude of a Turkish businessman who is 60 very different from the attitude of a Turkish businessman who is 40 or 20?
It is different. I may not say very different, because the main differences, as we said in the past, more or less all the business deals were relying on trust. But the new generation businessmen, they want to follow up the codes and the rules, and they are more interfering with the international companies.
Yes.
So yes, there are some discrepancies, maybe not major. It's not maybe affecting the business system, but there is of course some differences between the generations.
Yes.